Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is this is our weekly podcast about Star Wars and other things. After a quick. Yeah, a quick. I meant to say
Hiatus.
1 week hiatus. We took a little bit of a break. We're back with a vengeance, and we're here to talk about a couple things this week.
There's a modicum of Star Wars to talk about.
Yeah, well, there are a couple things. I mean, we're going to talk about the Acolyte a little bit, which I hate doing.
By which you mean we have to talk about people talking about the Acolyte.
Yep. I'm going to do a brief review of Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
And then Rings of Power.
It just dropped 3 episodes. Like I'm sure they announced it somewhere, but I didn't hear about that. So
I just thought there was going to be 1 episode.
No, they dropped 3 hours of television and said, "Here you go."
Yeah. If this were like an Acolyte thing, where like the episodes were like 25 minutes long, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But they're all like over an hour or something. Yeah. So it's like, holy shit. So yeah, I started watching them the day before yesterday, and we'll say more when we get to the section that we're talking about it, but I don't give a shit what anyone says. I've been enjoying that show. Yeah. And well, granted, I'm not a Tolkien like super fanboy because I just don't. It's like
you
this.
Just don't care that much.
It's like this. You know how like Tolkien is the creator of what you'd consider contemporary fantasy story, right? Contemporary. In
that he stole everything from Northern European legends.
Yes, and actual history. But yes. Just like George R.R. Martin kind of did, like stole from literal history and also just Tolkien. Right?
The difference is Tolkien
was a better writer.
Yes, but also wrote his stories as an excuse to use all these cool languages he made up because he was
a fucking nerd. Yeah, right. So the way that I see this is it's kind of Tolkien's work is kind of the Bible of contemporary fantasy, and like. When people make adaptions of the Bible, like they come out with a stupid Noah movie
or that Mel Gibson movie, The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna crack open my Bible and follow along
word by word. Be like, oh, that didn't happen in the Bible. You fucking deviated from the source material. It's
just like it's the legend.
Yeah,
and you're making the story kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the lens that I'm looking at Rings of Power through, where it's like, I know that Gandalf is a character in the legend. Is this canonically 100% exactly what happens in the book? I don't know. I literally couldn't tell you. Yeah. And I don't give a fuck. Like, I sure do like the actor that plays him. Or I guess we assume he's Gandalf. I don't know if we know for sure yet, but
I'm pretty sure it's Gandalf.
Yeah. But after this, at 7:20ish,
approximately,
probably about 7:20.
Whenever we start up the stream again,
we will be playing some Star Wars Battlefront 2 with my friends from Gremlin Squad, which you've not unfortunately been around for.
I've seen them for a while.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. And then while you're here, while you're kind of hanging out with us, if you could give us a like and follow us on Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube. That would be, that'd be pretty cash money of you. And I would enjoy that quite a bit.
Pretty neato keen.
So would Jesus.
Yeah, that's true.
I know that because I've seen Passion of the Christ, and he says in that movie, go like Jedi Enclave on Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube.
Yeah.
And
seems legit.
You can't prove that he didn't say that. Well, what are we talking about first? Oh, God. Okay. So...
let's get the unpleasantness out of the way.
Let's prepare ourselves here a little bit. So this happened while we were on our 1 week hiatus. Deadline reported that Star Wars The Acolyte was canceled, right?
Specifically not being renewed for an additional season.
They said canceled. They were like, this is canceled. You make a good distinction, though, because if you're a streaming IP or if you're a streaming service that owns an IP on that streaming service, it is nothing but bad business to say you're canceling something, right?
Yeah.
It's so much easier for you just to not say anything about it at all. Don't get me the wrong way. It is effectively canceled.
Yes.
Like that's the effect. but they're like, Lucasfilm isn't going to come out and say it. I think that Deadline and Hollywood Reporter talked to someone at Lucasfilm
who used that phrasing,
right?
Even though Lucasfilm and Disney never officially announced any additional seasons for the Acolyte, so they're not technically canceling it, but they're canceling it.
And to put that into perspective, Andor was renewed for a second season before the first season aired.
For the first episode.
Yeah.
Before anyone outside of the Walt Disney Company had ever seen it.
Yeah. So I was a little worried about it when that didn't happen, because we know like they like
that's just like the standard that all Star Wars shows are going to be judged by.
Yeah.
But from this point on, I think.
So there's that whole thing, and there were some comments on a YouTube video that we did a couple weeks ago about like, you guys are a Star Wars channel, why like it's suspicious that you guys aren't talking about the Acolyte cancellation. Is it because you guys are woke and blah 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 blah? And it's like, well, first of all, we were on a 1 week hiatus, as I just famously said.
Yeah.
We just didn't have a show last week when it happened.
Yeah.
But also, can we call it what it is?
Okay.
A bunch of angry incel dumbasses got very loud on social media and ruined Star Wars for everybody.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Pretty much.
And I won't die on a hill and say that Acolyte is the best Disney Plus Star Wars show. In fact, you can go back to our video that we put out a couple weeks ago where we re-ranked all of our...
I think we put it somewhere in the middle.
Right in the middle where it belongs, I think, right?
Because it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's good in some ways. It could be improved in other ways.
Yeah.
And it's just overall a decent time.
Right. And this was a sentiment that was shared by Amandla Stenberg, who played May in OSHA, and said that she was not shocked about the cancellation of the Acolyte because, quotes, of a rampage of online hyper-conservative bigotry.
I think she's exactly correct.
Yeah. There's like, show me where the lie is, because that's what it is. Like, if you've been hiding under, if you're a Star Wars fan, you've been hiding under a rock. And you don't understand like the online phenomenon that was the like.
If you're a Star Wars fan who doesn't interact with other Star Wars fans
online, which by the way, tell me how you do it, because that's fucking great.
But if you are, you might be shocked to learn that a lot of people who call themselves Star Wars fans are bigoted man babies.
Yeah. And their list of, it's funny. It's the same people who have been bitching about Star Wars Outlaws. We're like, well, I'm not playing that fucking game. I'd rather play a game where you could customize your own character. And it's like, but
no. You want to play as a male character.
Yeah.
Probably also a white male character, because that's the only way that your PP feels big.
Yeah. And it's like, you weren't saying any of this shit when Jedi Survivor came out.
No.
I wonder what the difference could have been.
I wonder.
Yeah. Ahmed Best and John Boyega came to her defense online, which I thought was really nice.
Ahmed Best has probably the best perspective of anyone about this.
And Lucasfilm isn't going to tell him to shut up about it either. Because after everything he's been through, and the fan reception of him like showing up in The Mandalorian and shit.
Yeah, and people have fucking loved that.
Yeah. So they came to her defense. I think Ahmed Best said something to the effect of "Go off, Queen."
Yeah.
But it's really sad because like it's a story that I think they could have made better. Like they could have tightened all the screws and made it a better story in season 2. As happens with shows after their first season.
The first season of almost every single show is very rarely the best.
Yeah.
Because showrunners learn more about the show they're doing, and everyone gets better at their jobs as you do it.
The actors figure the characters out a little bit more, and like everything just kind of
it just all clicks together a little better.
There is a fan petition for renewal, renew the Acolyte fan petition that has reached 60,000 signatures. I checked it earlier today.
Good for them.
That's quite a few people.
Fair number, yeah.
Just hours after that petition launched, a rival petition calling for a non-renewal, not to renew, has to date garnered 5,000 signatures. Which leads me to my next point, which is that the sniveling man babies of the world, the United States, pretty much, love to get online and say something to the effect of, oh, well, a vast majority of Star Wars fans agree with me and my perspective. Mm-hmm. And it's not true. You were able to alter Rotten Tomatoes because of a coordinated bot attack. Yeah. That's confirmed. I mean, that is a thing that happened. And you'll notice now that Rotten Tomatoes has made changes so that can't happen again.
Oh, good.
Right.
Excellent.
That wasn't a vast majority of people. That was you and some other incels that you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck. And it's not worth arguing people like this, because it's like, if you were to go to, you know, that like the stereotypical, you go to Central Park and play chess in New York City. Yeah. Arguing with these guys is the same as doing that and going down and playing with a pigeon. And the pigeon just walks around and knocks all the pieces over and shits on everything and flies off and thinks that they won.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they're doing here. Yeah. That's exactly, they're walking over the pieces, they're shitting everywhere, and they're flying off pretending like they won. Mm-hmm. And what sucks is that, like, Disney is sending, or Lucasfilm is sending the wrong message with this, which is that you gave in to the terrorists.
Yeah.
That's what you did. You fucking gave in to the terrorists.
It's hard for me to 100% buy that, just because there are
the pigeon part or the other thing,
the giving into the terrorists part, yeah. Because there are business considerations that Disney, a corporation, is going to make. Yeah. They're going to look at it and say, okay, did the money we made from people subscribing to Disney Plus to watch this show, did that equal out our production costs? Can we project that forward to see what we're going to make from another season and what it'll cost to make that season?
Yeah.
So, like,
especially when they're trying to make those shows as thrifty as possible.
Yes. Disney Plus has never made money in the entire time they've run it. Like, it is drained so much money out of Disney's coffers that, like, it is the reason their previous CEO got fired and Bob Iger is back in charge.
Yeah. To be fair, and you're not going to see me weeping over a corporation not having anything work out, right? Because it's like, on one hand, I would like the second season of Acolyte, but on the other hand, it's like everything's burning down around you, and I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Streaming services generally don't do well on paper where cash flow is concerned. Mm-hmm. Netflix famously is like, I don't know, $10 billion in debt or something. Yeah. But they're more concerned about other metrics, like how many yearly subscribers, and getting that number. Mm-hmm. Everything is about perpetual growth, despite the fact that it's impossible.
Not just that your numbers are bigger than last year, but that you're growing at a bigger rate than you did last year.
Yeah, it's insane that's a metric we measure that shit by. And look, there are a couple, like, Acolyte's viewership was lower than the other Star Wars Disney Plus shows. That could be for a vast number of reasons. I'm sure some of it was that some people didn't like it, and that's fine. Yeah. Like we said, it was mid, right? It was
fine.
Right. So, like, I'm sure that there would be other Star Wars shows that got better viewership. And the other thing is, Acolyte's budget was insane. It was like $200 million, I think.
Oh, geez.
Like I think going toward $200 million. I'm going to look this up real quick because I want to make sure.
And assuming that's correct, it's very hard to assume that anyone...
$180 million.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
So and there were how many episodes? 8?
I believe so. So that's
22.5 million per episode. And look, the show looked better than, like, Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett.
It looked good. It had good actors,
but it did not look $22 million, nearly $23 million an episode better, right? Yeah. It didn't look like House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones or, oh my God, dude.
We'll get there in a few minutes, but
I can't believe how good that show looks. It's just insane how good it looks. So there's not much more to say about this. It's worth pointing out that this does not mean that those characters have been decanonized and that we'll never hear from them again.
They haven't gotten the World Between Worlds treatment where fucking, I don't know, some white male savior comes in and says, no, you don't exist anymore. Yeah. And then Osha and May just poof into it.
They'll have Thanos show up with the Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah. And that's how they'll bridge Star Wars and MCU.
Yeah, exactly. Then Brie Larson can come in
and destroy everything. Yeah. So like we'll see these characters show up probably, or at least some of them will show up in other stuff.
I kind of expect either a novel or a comic book.
Yeah, series. Or both. Yeah.
Something to finish up that story.
Nick in his camera says, of course we are, but how dare you? I can't remember what I said.
I have no idea what that's in context of, but thanks for watching.
Yeah. The number, I wish I had money for every time someone throughout my life has uttered, how dare you? I have that effect on people. I'm very sorry. It deserved to have another season to figure it out. I was just so surprised that it was quote unquote, okay, me too. I wanted it to be really good.
There are parts of it that are really good. Like
I wanted it to be Andor.
Yeah, but
it wasn't. That's
to be Andor, you need to have Andor's writers,
right? Yeah, Tony Gilroy particularly, because that dude's a genius. Could it ever actually be renewed? Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that like Lucasfilm, Disney owns the IP and they own the streaming service.
So at any point they can just say, hey, let's make more Acolyte, and they can do it.
Or they'll do another show with a bunch of the same characters and just call it something else, right? They'll be like, it's Vernestra Rose
happy fun time trip to the galaxy.
With Plagueis or something, right? Yeah. I'd watch that. That'd be pretty neat. All right. So
Vernestra Rose happy fun time Plagueis puppet house. Just turn into a puppet
like a
show.
variety show. Yeah.
Be great.
I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws a lot.
Okay.
That game came out
this week.
Yeah, I had the early access.
Okay.
So that I could stream it early and everything. And it's been getting pretty good reviews so far in general.
Cool.
Which is good. I'm only a few hours in. I just mentioned I was streaming it. I'll be streaming it probably every day.
Until you beat it.
Yeah. I think I'm like 20 hours in, and I've been, let me just give us a quick spoiler warning for this. Like
the first half to quarter.
Yeah. Cause they're not really huge spoilers because I don't know enough about the story yet, because I'm just not that far in, but I'm going to give you some pros and cons that I was thinking about today. This game feels so fucking Star Wars, and it is like living in the world, and it's really neat. It even more so than like Jedi Survivor.
Oh yeah. Because like Jedi Survivor, you're sort of existing on the fringes of galactic society. Like your very existence is illegal.
Yeah.
Whereas playing a smuggler,
you're just a criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you get caught, you're not going to get killed by Inquisitors. You're just going to go to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you have to interact with relatively normal parts of society.
Yeah. Mostly criminals, but yeah. The combat's good.
Okay.
It's not the best combat I've seen in a video game. It's better than Battlefront 2.
Okay.
But it's, the thing I love about it is that obviously you don't get a lightsaber. And going into this, I was like, what the fuck am I going to do in a Star Wars game where I can't just smash people with lightsabers? Because they're going to make me use my brain and shit. I don't know how to do that.
I'm going to have to shoot people.
Yeah. The blaster fire has a lot of impact. And when you hit someone, it feels like they really get hit by something. And there's this really neat detail where if you're hiding behind a box and someone shoots you and the laser just skims your head, it vibrates the whole controller. And you're like, oh shit, that was really close. Right. A lot of the game depends on its stealth mechanic, which isn't amazing, but it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. There's lots of sneaky shit. You have a little animal friend called Nyx, who I'm in love with. In fact, just today when I was streaming it, someone kidnapped him and sold him to Jabba the Hutt. And so I broke into Jabba's palace and did a John Wick on everyone. I was so mad that they took my fucking my little guy. Yeah. And so a lot of Gamorrean guards died today. The music is good.
Okay.
But it is not Gordy Hop good, which is too bad. Just by a stroke of absolute coincidence. I happen to also know the composer that wrote for this game too.
Oh, that's fun.
I don't know him I've actually talked to Gordy. Yeah,
your Facebook friends,
right? In fact, I had a conversation. His name is Blake Robinson. I had a talk with him because he did the trailer music for Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
And when he on Facebook, when he like revealed that he was the one that wrote it, because he was like under an NDA.
Yeah.
I messaged him and I was like, so it sounds like a lot of that music was like a lot of the brass and stuff were sampled instruments. And I was like, can you like confirm that? Because like John and I were having it. He's like, no, that sounds real. And it's like, no, that's like,
yeah, I
know exactly what sample that is. And he's like, no, they're samples. It's like, yeah, that figures they wouldn't like hire a whole orchestra for the trailer or whatever. And not to shit on Blake Robinson, he's a freakishly talented composer, and I don't dislike the work. And there are a couple of bangers too, where you're like, oh, this sounds really neat. But there's something about Gordy Hobb that is so decidedly John Williams, but like in his own way.
Yeah.
And I really love it. And I miss it on this a little bit, but you're not playing a Jedi character.
No.
So you don't have to have the Force theme.
Yeah.
It's like all that crazy, like John Williams shit that just hits you really hard in the chest. You don't necessarily have to have all that shit. You can have cool, like Stranger Things sounding electronic stuff, which comes up in the game a lot. And he quotes different Star Wars things too. So like when you're sneaking around an Imperial base, he'll do the dun 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 digga dun da da dum bum ba-dum, that like Death Star theme. He'll pull that out and dust it up.
I assume he pulled out the Jabba theme for Jabba's palace.
No.
Oh.
But when I got on Tatooine, when I arrived on Tatooine, there was some very clear Mandalorian quotes, which I thought was interesting because you wouldn't necessarily. I mean, Tatooine is like from the OG Star Wars. You wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, that's from Mandalorian. It's like, it's from fucking Star Wars, dude. Yeah. But,
Okay.
So you can't just blast your way through any engagement. Like you kind of have to like
gotta be a little strategic.
Which I'm like, okay, you're making me use my monkey brain, but that's fine.
Yeah.
There is a whole Starfighter thing. It is a lot like Battlefront 2 and Starfield and Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. Which I was thankful for because I'm good at that. So right?
Very arcade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. The problem is that I can't have a different set of controls for my Starfighter as I do for when I'm on foot. So every time I go into space, because when I play, I don't know, it's Rogue Squadron 64 fucked me up because I explained this during a stream. Imagine the N64 controller, right? It's got the two handles and the penis in the middle, right? And on the penis is the joystick, stick, right? Yeah. And you grab the penis with your left hand, and your right hand goes up here on the buttons, right? So I learned on Rogue Squadron N64 to steer my ship with my left thumb, and I cannot do it any other way. And the default is like right. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't even know. Like, I don't know. So like you can't have a different set of controls.
Oh.
So I have to go into the menu every time I go into space and get,
that's awful.
If a dev is watching this, I know you're not, but if I can change that. There's some things I didn't love. This game did not need to be open world.
Okay.
You know how like, I don't know, they're like, There's some good open world games, and then everyone started doing open world games, even though they didn't need to be.
Well, Ubisoft is kind of patient zero for this. Like they made Assassin's Creed, which was the prototypical open world collectathon, and then they made like a dozen other games in that same series. Far Cry,
right, which is exactly the same way.
Massively open world collectathons. Go here. Oh, there's a little side quest. You can do that, and there's a side quest on the way that will do the thing for the side quest.
Yep. And you got to do the like the radio towers and all the different. Yeah. It is not Far Cry bad. And not all the Far Cries are made equally anyway. Yeah. They're actually a couple like good ones. It could have been open world adjacent, just like Jedi Survivor.
So a series of tubes.
Yeah, like that's Jedi Fallen Order, which was decidedly not open world. Jedi Survivor, you could you could go between different planets and there are like little mini side quests and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
It could have been something like that, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Because I found myself comparing it to like Red Dead Redemption 2, which I consider to be the best open world game ever made on planet Earth. And I would be interested to hear an argument against that. I think most people who have played it agree. That world, first of all, that map is so huge and it's so alive. In the story mode. Mm-hmm. In the online mode, it's a little less alive because they have to juggle 20 players in the lobby. But there's wildlife everywhere. The NPCs are so interesting. In the story mode of Red Dead, you could just follow NPCs around and watch them go about their day and have conversations. And it's just, everything is just like so alive and crazy, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's like, you love looking at it. And this game is gorgeous. Like a lot of it, like I've had a couple of graphical glitches, but for the most part, it looks really, really good. Yeah. So you'll run into some wildlife, but you can just see that like their pathing is like walk here, walk back. Yeah. It's not like where like in Red Dead, like you can follow a deer and it's just a deer
just goes around, munches, and goes over.
He has his own little day. Yeah. He goes and he just is a deer for the whole day. It's not like that. Right. And you run into pedestrians as you're like, driving around and shit. Yeah. And you can tell they're just driving back and forth. Right. So there's that.
Okay.
Things I'm not terribly crazy about. Mostly that it just didn't need to be open world. I would give this one like a 7. Okay. 7 out of 10. 7.5. You know what? I'll give it. It's a 7.5. Yeah.
7.5.
Yeah. Okay. 7.5 nixes out of 10 nixes.
Okay. That's the official Jedi Enclave rating.
Yes. Put a stamp on that. Yeah. Hold on just a second before we. Will we get to see Ochi of Bastoon in Outlaws? I literally said that during yesterday's stream because we ran into, or maybe it wasn't yesterday. It might have been the day before. We ran into Kira, Emilia Clarke's Kira, yes. And she mentions an auction that they went to, which is straight from the comics when she's auctioning off Han Solo's carbonite block, right? And Ochi of Bastoon is at that auction, and so I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder if Ochi of Bastoon will be in this." Because
Ochi of Bastoon,
yeah, because that'd be pretty neat. Outlaws is how everyone but the Jedi have lived, and it's nice to finally see their world. Yeah, and it's also nice to see like they've been exploring this a little bit with new Star Wars, just the crushing yoke of the Empire.
Yes.
And how the normal person in general is so focused on just surviving that they barely know what's happening. Yeah. Like regime wise, they're like, oh, I guess it's the Empire this month. Yeah.
Like they barely understand what exactly the rebellion is fighting for, and then like they hear a news report about this galactic terrorist Luke Skywalker blows up the Death Star,
millions of people dead,
dead. And they're like, oh, holy shit, that's kind of fucked up.
Woke Luke Skywalker and his agenda.
His agenda is killing millions.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Juan? What's up, Rakesh? Kind of like Skyrim, but in Star Wars. Yeah, Skyrim's another like famous open world. Mm-hmm. I think Skyrim's one of those that people really liked as an open world game.
Well,
I've never played it.
Yes, but also Skyrim has the Bethesda thing where like you really need to wait a year or two for them to put out all the DLC, fix some of the bugs.
Oh my god, did you hear about okay, I almost shat my pants because I bought this game early release, got like 15 hours in, and then saw a news thing, an article about how they were putting out a day one patch and how players are going to lose all of their progress during the early thing, and I was like, oh, hell no.
Motherfuckers.
And it was just for PlayStation 5 players. And I was like, you know what? If they didn't brag so much about being PlayStation 5 players, maybe I'd care.
All right. Is it Rings of Power time?
Yeah, let's talk about some Rings of Power, man. Okay, so look, when this show came out last year, I watched it and I enjoyed it, right? I kind of forgot it was like coming up.
It completely took me by surprise. Like I just saw somewhere that, hey, they dropped 3 episodes. I was like, holy shit, already?
Yeah. I mentioned this during our opening. And I'm not going to do the whole thing again. You can go back and watch it if you want. I like this show, and I don't give a fuck who knows. Yeah. Like, and there is a similar thing with this show that happened with Acolyte, where everyone's like, oh, black elves, too woke.
Oh, yeah.
Or, it's a woman. Ugh. Yeah. You know, white men, that's fucking it. Give me Elrond. And you know what? I like all of it. Yeah. And maybe that makes me a normie. Maybe that makes me a basic fucking Lord of the Rings fan. Maybe I'm not a true Tolkien fanboy. And you know what? I'm going to sleep fine knowing that tonight because I don't give a fuck. I've read Lord of the Rings when I was a kid.
Okay.
I barely remember what happens, like in the canon.
Yeah.
Never once read the Silmarillion because
it's fucking boring.
Yes, I don't hate myself.
It is all the boring parts of the Old Testament.
Yeah. Like I picked up The Hobbit when I was a kid and was like, what's this? Nope, I'm putting that down because it was like, I don't know if I care about this. Yeah. I've seen the Peter Jackson movies,
which are bangers.
They're fucking great. Except for the Hobbit ones, and
those don't count.
Yeah,
we don't talk about those.
Yes, which is funny because maybe that's just a bad story because I didn't like the movies.
The problem with those movies,
what I really liked about those movies is that guy that rode around on a sled covered in bird shit. I kind of like that guy.
The problem is that like The Hobbit is shorter than any of the Lord of the Rings books.
How is it a trilogy?
And yet they made 3 fucking movies out of it. Like they had to pad the fuck out of it.
There's a big fucking dragon in that though. Voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. Huh. I remember that. And they do a Gandalf scene, right? With Gandalf and Elrond and Cate Blanchett. The main one of the main characters of Rings of Power, fucking Galadriel. Yeah.
Galadriel.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing I love about Rings of Power. How they turn every R.
Yeah.
So whenever they say Sauron, it's not just Sauron.
Sauron.
Yeah, you got to like turn the R a little bit. Fucking pretentious.
God, the English people. It's not all of them. It's specifically the elves. It's
are they the ones that do it?
Yeah, it's like the Elvish accent
because they're educated and everyone else is stupid.
It's just how they speak, I think.
Spoiler-free thoughts, real quick.
Holy shit, this show looks so good.
Yeah. I've been liking the second season a lot more too. I didn't dislike the first one, but like I've been enjoying the second one more.
I think we talked about it a lot with the first season, but like all the props, all the costumes, all the sets, like it is genuinely hard for me to tell what they're CGing and what is practical.
Yeah, there was an effect in the second episode with the stranger. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to call him Gandalf because I don't want to be an idiot and have it be someone else. Where they're like in the desert and he uses magic, and he disturbs all of the pebbles and shit.
Yeah, and they're all moving around in waves.
And it's like, is that in camera? Is that actually happening? Yeah. Because I cannot tell if that's CG or not. What the fuck?
Like the
giant tornado?
Yeah.
Was that a real tornado? I don't fucking know. The tornado was fake, but yeah.
But like the first
are those real orcs?
The first season was the most expensive season of television ever produced.
Yes.
Like by a lot. And I would be astonished if this season was any cheaper.
Yeah.
Like,
but they're getting their bang for their buck.
Yeah. Like really I can only assume Jeff Bezos is a huge Lord of the Rings fan and is personally funding all this shit. Because
that makes me like it less though. Don't say that. You know what else really rocks in this show? The soundtrack.
Yeah.
Bear McCreary. And an exec at Amazon's like, Bear, listen. We need this to sound like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
He's like, say no more.
Yeah. So because we need people we can't legally say that they are in the same universe, but we need them to hear it.
Something has changed because like this is now the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power.
Was that not in the first one?
I don't think so.
Did they kill someone to get the rights?
I don't know what happened, but it is right there on the title.
Who's in charge of the Tolkien estate right now? They probably like kidnap their kids.
Probably Christopher Tolkien.
They're like, we're going to kill your kids unless you give us the rest of the story. Jeff Bezos is going to come to your house.
Jeff Bezos doesn't go to your house. He sends his ninjas.
Yeah. I imagine if they really wanted me to do something like that for Amazon, they would just have Jeff Bezos come to my house and like read out of the Target sale paper and be like, "Oh, you're so weird. No, I'll do whatever you want." So yeah, I think so far, I like it. I think it's cool. Good music, good fucking visuals. Yep. The performances are good too. I don't think there are any actors in this show that I don't really love.
Caleb Brimbore's assistant has some kind of weird line reads. The woman.
Oh, I barely remember her.
There was also one other character in Numenor when what's his name was looking at the king's sarcophagus and musing about something, and like she walks up to him and she has a kind of weird line read.
Is she the one that finds the ball?
I don't think so.
Or is it someone else?
I think it's someone else. But all the main characters do a fantastic job. Most of the supporting cast is fantastic as well.
So we're gonna do spoilers. There's no way we get through all 3 episodes in time today.
Not in full detail.
Yeah. So if we miss a detail that you really enjoyed, let us know in the comments. But I like how the first episode just starts with a Sauron origin story.
Yeah.
With so I guess they recast Adar, didn't they?
Maybe,
because he was played by Uncle Benjen.
He looks very similar.
Yeah,
from what I remember, at least.
I think they have similar northern faces, I guess.
Okay,
but they're definitely different actors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know Uncle Benjen's face anywhere. I've seen Game of Thrones so many fucking times.
So Sauron is talking to the orcs, saying, "Hey, everyone fucking hates you. Your only way forward is with me. So fucking do what I say."
Yes, I'm the white man here. Listen to me, please.
And then Adar's like, "I'm just gonna stab you with this crown now."
I like how he was like. They had the big Sauron crown.
The big spiky metal crown.
And he's like, "I'm going to put it on you the right way." Psych! Yeah.
And then all the orcs just fucking stab him to death. And Adar's like, "Actually, you're going to work for me now." And the orcs are like, "Yeah, okay, this seems better.
That's fine."
And then like Sauron's blood.
He might stab us with a crown. We better listen to him.
And Sauron's blood like turns into this black goo.
Is it blood or is it just Sauron?
It's something. It's
the essence of Sauron.
It sinks down into the bottom of a mountain, and he like starts eating rats and shit. And like he's a really gross blob.
Yeah, he's like it's kind of like a carpet. Yeah. He's like a little tendrily carpet. It's you know what? It's how I imagine Voldemort probably was after he got after he tried to kill Harry. And, that's probably how he existed for a while, right? Yeah. He starts small. He's like, okay, I'm gonna pace myself. I'm gonna start with a rat.
Eat this rat,
and then I'm gonna go eat this lady.
Yep,
and probably her horse too.
And then he turns into the guy we all know.
Oh, Halbrand. He's fucking hot. That man is very pretty.
He runs into some people who are like running away from orcs and like, "Hey, come with us." And he's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah, they they try to cross the narrow sea. Mm-hmm. and
the fucking sea serpent breaks the ship, and he's like, "I'm gonna take this symbol of the king of the Southlands now.
I could turn this into a story." I like how they're in the bottom of that ship having that conversation, and like the sea monster shows up, and there's like a look of recognition on Sauron's face or on Halbrand's face.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I know what you are."
He's like, "I know this guy.
Yeah,
it's Jeff, the sea monster."
He's like, "Hey, don't eat me." And Jeff, the sea monster's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go over here now."
Yeah. They probably met each other like the evil conference or something. Yeah. And he's like, it's my boy Jeff. Yeah. And so that's how we figure out how he meets Galadriel, because she is going to heaven, right?
She's like,
she was on the boat to heaven and then was like, "Fuck it, I'm not going," and jumps off.
"I don't want to go to heaven. I'm going to jump into the ocean," and comes up on this ship.
And then she finds Halbrand, and she's like, "You're hot," and he's like, "I know." "You want to be friends?" And she's like, "Depends. Are you the king of anything?" And he pulls that fucking thing out. He's like,
king of checks notes, the Southlands.
Yeah, I am indeed a king, according to this.
Right here.
And she's like, "Great, we can be friends."
Yeah.
And then we figure out, like, all that shit happens, which, by the way, that reveal in season 1 of how, because I think everyone suspected that Halbrand was Sauron.
There was something shifty going on with him.
But like their final reveal when they actually came out and said it with the reflection in the lake.
Incredibly well done.
Oh, it was so good. So
Galadriel is chasing Elrond through the woods because he has the rings.
Got the rings.
Yeah, he has the rings. She wants them. He's like, "No, you shouldn't use these." He's like, "I want to use them."
By the way, it looks like they're having just a friendly chase through the woods.
Yeah.
And not like Elrond has the most powerful, dangerous rings in all of the universe, and he
has a bag full of nuclear bombs,
and she wants them.
Yeah,
and like, but they're like, because they're elves and they frolic everywhere. Yeah. They're like, oh, look at me.
Well, I mean, Galadriel's not going to pull out a bow and arrow and fucking shoot him. Or
she
anything.
Might.
That's her friend.
She fucking might though. She's pretty.
Is Galadriel going to have to stab a bitch?
I hope so. I would watch her stab a bitch. Yeah. So I think she did stab a bitch in the first season, probably.
She stabbed multiple bitches.
Yeah. I like her, by the way.
Yeah.
She is one of those figures in the show that a lot of the internet trolls and comments are like, oh, I don't like her. And it's like, is it because it's a girl? Is it because, you couldn't win against her in a fight?
Yeah.
And you spend your day imagining you winning different fights with different people, but here comes Galadriel and she just kicks you right in the nuts. Is that why you don't like her very much?
So they get to the king, and the king is like, Galadriel.
Gil-galad. I remember that because I have the wiki open in front of me. I don't like that man's face. I'm sorry.
It's a little weird.
I've said it. He's got a little bit of a thing here that this is like some skin or something. I don't know. He has a very soft, untrustworthy face.
So Gil-galad is like, look, Galadriel, Elrond tells me that Halbrand isn't who you thought he was. And she's like, well, no, he's
he said he was a king.
You're not going to like this. I want you to like not freak out, but he might have been Sauron. Gil-galad's like, he was who?
Yeah. Okay. So this is interesting because she was the one tolling the warning bells about Sauron, and everyone was like, no, fuck you, that's not real. And then she's like, oh, I found Sauron. And they're like, how could you be fooled by him? We all knew.
How could you be friends with Sauron?
Yeah, it's like, you didn't even believe he fucking existed, motherfucker. Like, what's wrong with you? By the way, we forgot to mention during the Sauron origin story, there's a cool fucking effect where he just explodes into a bunch of fucking frost everywhere.
Because he gets stabbed a million times, like Adar like kind of nudges him with his boot, and then he finally like,
yeah, I think he orgasms or something.
Yeah, and
it was a little orgasm-ish.
And he's the reason that entire region is snowy all the time now.
Yeah,
because like before it was regular green plants and shit. But
I know some people noted that Adar and some of the orcs who were at ground zero were just fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't like an explosion. He's just like, everything gets snow now.
Yeah.
So a quick reminder that the elves need golden leaves to stay in Middle Earth for some reason.
Yes.
And they need to not be falling from a tree, and the tree looks a little sickly. And so they're trying to figure out a way to like heal it or whatever. And the basic fight is we have these rings. The rings will heal the tree. Elrond's like, oh, okay, but Sauron made them.
Yes. Well, Sauron helped to make them.
Right.
His knowledge was there, and that was what went into.
Right. And we don't know if he corrupted Celebrimbor or not, or like it's safer just to not.
Yes.
And Galadriel's like, or we do and we fix every problem ever. And the king's like, yeah, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And then Elrond is like, not if I steal them.
Not if I jump off a fucking cliff. Yeah.
So he steals them and talks to Círdan.
Master Círdan.
Círdan, yeah.
Círdan, yeah.
Again, not a Tolkien fanboy.
Yeah. So Kieran's like, well, that's quite a dilemma you got there, but what if I take these rings, take them out in the ocean, just drop them in this bottomless pit?
Yeah.
Elrond's like, that's an excellent idea. Go do that.
That is a good idea. I saw a comment on the internet who was like, they gave Círdan or is that his name?
Yes.
A fucking beard, and elves don't have beards, and like how could they never pay attention to the source material. And like a super Tolkien fanboy was like, he literally has a beard in the book, you stupid fuck.
Also, the very next time we see him, he's literally shaving.
Yeah. So he by the way gets in his boat and very calmly just sails out.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh God, where is he? And he's like, I'm on the boat.
And like he's about to drop him, and like there's this giant shaking, and he's like, well, let me just take a look at these. Oh, these rings are actually kind of cool.
They do the ring thing where they're like, don't throw us in.
Yeah.
We're your friend. And he's like, okay.
Well, maybe you are my friend.
Yeah. And so he takes him back. And then Elrond's like, you fucking idiot. All you had to do was that.
So he comes up to Gil-galad. He's got one of the rings on. He's like, hey.
Yeah, this one's mine.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is mine. Like, you can pick. Like, I'm team red. You can be blue or you can be diamond.
I just like how the presumption.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm keeping this ring. This one's mine.
So like he goes to put him in Gil-galad's hand. Like Gil-galad drops him, and one of them falls directly to Galadriel's feet, and so they're the three people with the rings.
This is a neat, I guess, parallel to Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings film, who Frodo is like, fuck it, why don't you take the ring? She's like, nope, don't even joke about that.
So in the source material, in present day of Lord of the Rings, she still has the ring that she has here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she has one, Elrond has one, and I believe Gandalf has the third one. I think that's right.
Where does he keep it? Probably in that giant stick he has. So speaking of Gandalf, he is kind of slowly getting his memories back, and he's like hanging out with Nori the Harfoot, and they're lost. They're going to Rune, yeah. And
RHU with the cool accent over it. And
yeah, so it turns out they're Nori's friend Poppy like shows up, and she's like, I've got maps, and they're like, that's great.
I've got maps and snacks.
Yeah. Well, right before that, so Gandalf doesn't want to use his magic because
he's afraid he's going to make things explode. Yeah. Nori's like, hey, we're out of food. Like, here's a tree, make it make food. And Gandalf's like, okay, get the fuck back. Now, tree, I'm going to talk to you very sensually in the language
with
of
all
the
the fucking pebbles and shit. Yeah.
Let me touch some pebbles. Make me some food.
Yeah.
And the tree fucking explodes. And Nora's like, hey, there's a bunch of beetles here. We can fry these.
Yeah. They literally have a hook, like a Hakuna Matata thing. Yeah.
They just eat some beetles.
Yep. They're being followed by some mysterious guys. And then
some bad hombres.
Yeah. Yeah. The Elf King sends a message to Celebrimbor, who's like, bro, Halbrand is probably Sauron. He's sketchy. Watch out.
Yeah.
And we find out that message never makes it.
Nope.
I think it might have been too late anyway.
Yeah, because by that point, Halbrand...
Let's talk about how this folds out. Yeah.
So Halbrand like surrenders himself to the orcs. He's still undercover here. So he gets taken before Adar. He's like, hey, I can tell you about Sauron. Adar's like, fuck you. I'm going to have my guys beat the hell out of you.
I'm going to tell you about Sauron. I stabbed him with a fucking crown and he disappeared.
So Hadar's thrown in jail. Halbrand is thrown in jail. And like every so often, this one dude comes by to beat the shit out of him. And eventually Adar's like, okay, look, clearly you don't respond well to torture. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set your people free. I'm going to let you go. You're going to tell me where Sauron is.
And if I do this, please don't have the dog friend you made in jail eat my human person.
Yeah. Halbrand's like, deal.
Yeah, except for the last part.
So he jumps on his horse. He rides out. When he gets to the edge of the camp, like he stops because he hears the dog eating his guy. He's like, fucker.
Yeah. Which, by the way, like if I were locked in a prison cell and there was a ravenous, hungry dog, I'd probably give him my food too.
Yeah, give him your food. Speak to him in the black language.
Yeah, that's how you make. That's how I made friends with my dogs. I gave them turkey legs and spoke in the black language,
black tongue, whatever it is. Anyway, so Halbrand gets to Celebrimbor's house and he's like, "Hey, I want to talk to Celebrimbor." And the guards are like, "You can't talk to Celebrimbor." He's like, "Well, that's okay. I'll just hang out here."
He's playing Xbox right now. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, I'll just hang out here. You won't even know I'm here. It's fine. So he hangs out there for like 3 or 4 days, and it starts to rain. And Celebrimbor finally comes out and is like, "Dude, you need to get the fuck out of here." Like, I like
so like he's got that assistant that comes out.
That comes out with a fucking incredibly
that umbrella,
elven umbrella.
That was pretty funny. That is so extra. Yeah. I met his female assistant.
Oh yeah,
who Halbrand happened. He's such a fucking manipulator.
Yes,
that he turns and like shows his bloody scars a little bit.
And she's like,
oh no, he's hot and he's hurt.
Yeah,
and he's like, oh, I've got her. Boys, I've got her. I've got this.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got her.
Yeah, and it was her talking to Celebrimbor, who's like, he's so cute, and I think he's hurt. Should I bring my shawl? And he's
Celebrimbor's like, I promised Galadriel I would not talk to him, so I'm not going to talk to him.
Also, I don't own any shawls. Do you?
That is bullshit. Yeah. Every elf owns
they're very shawl, very shawl centric society. But yeah, he gets his I think to Halbrand, if you can just get face to face with him, he can get his little Sauron tongue in his ear, and then that's it. Right?
And he does, because as soon as Celebrimbor comes down there, it's like, oh, well, you know, I could tell you what's going on, but
I can't.
It'd be better if Galadriel did. And he's like, oh, you talked to Galadriel? Yeah. You talk to the king, you talk to elders, tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And fucking Sauron is playing this guy like a goddamn fiddle.
Yes. Yeah. Like that fiddle that plays the Rohan theme. Mm-hmm.
So
that weird Nordish or like the whatever.
Yeah.
That was.
So they get up to Celebrimbor's house and like Sauron just has his feet kicked up. He's eating and having a great time. And so it turns out, so Sauron tells him, yeah, the rings worked. Everything's great. And Celebrimbor's like, great, let's get drunk. I've had this wine for 3,000 years.
Yeah, it's older than Jesus. In the middle of all this, the dwarves are having some trouble in Khazad Dûm, right?
Yeah, because Mount Doom is exploding, and that's sending tremors through the mountain that like blocks off all their.
Also, they overmined it, right? Like they're getting too greedy with their trying to get the mithril out or whatever.
I think so. I know that's what eventually happens to him, but I don't know.
Well, they ended the first season with that stinger with the Mephisto. What the fuck is that guy's name? The fire demon dude.
Oh, the Balrog.
Yeah, the Balrog. Yeah. So I think that's kind of what, like, because they're trying to get the mithril or whatever.
Yeah.
And the dwarf king and the dwarf son are estranged, and they're both very stubborn.
I think they're both named Durin.
Yeah. And he's okay. So Durin's wife, the mountain singer.
What's her name? Starts with a D.
I like how she has a little bit of facial hair.
Yeah.
Because Gimli mentions
just a tiny bit of side.
Yeah. He like in the original movie is like, oh, you know, dwarvish women have.
Of all the characters in this show, she is the one I would most like to be friends with.
Oh yeah, she seems pretty down to earth.
Yeah.
I like how exasperated she is by Durin just being an asshole.
Yeah. She's like, dude, just go fucking apologize to your father. Like, life's too short for this shit. And then she's in front of the king. She's like, dude, just go fucking apologize to your father.
She's trying to play both sides. And she's like, guys, come on. She's like, I don't know. She's like, you know, the Switzerland of this whole thing. Yeah. She tries to fix the mountain by singing.
Yeah. She and her buddies try to fix it by singing, and they make it worse.
Yeah. Whoops. And so this is where Halbrand gets the idea. Oh, hey, we can make rings for the dwarves.
Yeah.
Because it'll make their shit better too. And by the way, I lied to you about who I am. I'm not Halbrand. I'm an elf. And he goes and walks into the forge. And
he says, I'm not a man or a dwarf or an elf. I am something else.
Yeah. A god or whatever. But I have plenty
a friend, a messenger, whatever.
Okay, just like Celebrimbor turns around, he's just not there, and everything is dark, and he's like, what the fuck, man? And then he just comes out of the fireplace like, behold! The forge like fires up and shit, and he's like, oh god, is there a person in there? And he's like, yeah, I'm God.
Yeah.
You can call me, what is he?
Anatar?
Anatar, yeah. The something of gifts.
The Lord of Gifts.
The dude of gifts, yeah. The bro of gifts.
The bro of gifts. Yeah. We'll go with that, yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, we're going to make some rings for the dwarves.
Yeah, so Durin and his wife go out to meet him, and Celebrimbor was like, yeah, we can make you these rings. There'll be one for each of the dwarf lords. It'll be great. You can fix your mountains. Everything will be fantastic. And Durin's
why did you guys try to sing to it? Just use the fucking rings.
Yeah. Durin's like, let me get back to you.
Yeah, we're going to need to talk to my dad, because we're not sure how this is going to work out.
Also, I don't really talk to my dad, so like you really picked the exact wrong person to bring this to.
They have a touching scene where Lesser Durin apologizes, even though he knows
he is right.
Yeah, but he swallows his pride.
Yeah.
And the king shows up and is like, yeah, fucking let's do rings. Here's some mithril.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So very neat detail in this. Like Celebrimbor was going to go to drop the mithril, and Sauron's like, no.
I want to do it.
I'll take that.
I want to do it. It's like when you get on the elevator, you're like, I'm pressing the button.
Yeah, and like he holds it and like kind of closes his eyes for a second.
Does a little magic, I think, probably on it.
Most likely. Yeah. And then transfers it to his left hand, which is just a neat little detail because your left hand is referred to as your sinister hand.
Ooh, okay.
Because that comes from Latin, dexter, sinister.
Okay.
And then drops it in. So that's how the dwarves got fucked up.
Is that why people sometimes only masturbate with their left hands?
Really couldn't say.
Even right-handed people. No, I'm not saying I do that. I'm just saying that like I've heard of that.
I could not comment on that.
We'll have to ask the bro of gifts.
Yeah,
he'll know.
So meanwhile, in the Southlands, shit is still fucked up.
Oh, I like how the beginning of the third episode starts off with Isildur's horse.
Oh
and his little adventure.
Yeah,
because they're trying.
The horse is freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, because
he's like, dude, can you chill?
Yeah, they're like, they want to go back to Numenor, right? Yeah. And he's like, no. I'm a horse. First of all, I don't like being on ships, but also fuck you. My dude is still out here. Yeah. And he runs off.
So he runs off into a fucking spider nest.
Yeah. Which I thought maybe, I know the big spider from the
Shelob. Yeah.
I don't think it's that, right?
It's not that. It might be like her children or something.
Ugh. But I got massive Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban vibes from this with, what's the spider's name from Harry Potter?
I forget, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it kind of felt like that. Which, by the way, you know this because you know me, but we're very spider friendly in my house because
not if they were spiders like this.
Yeah, I don't like people making spiders into creepy things that we need to be afraid of because spiders are almost always harmless. It is very rare that they bite. And when they bite, it's because you're fucking with them and they can't find a way out. And they don't like to be around humans. They'll run away from humans because they're like, what the fuck is that?
So if you're arachnophobic, the spiders don't like you either.
Yeah. And they just prefer not. And that like all these myths about like how many spiders you swallow a year is just bullshit, right? Like none of that shit happens. It's why when you walk up to my house, we have this giant spider web. And if you go and look at it right now, hundreds of mosquitoes caught in it. Fucking mosquitoes that aren't biting me in that fucking web. And I hope they're all dying a slow, painful death. Thank you, spider.
Anyway, so...
but no, fuck these spiders. Yeah, they're really gross. Yeah.
So Isildur and the horse like sort of tag team the spiders and they get out of there. Isildur almost drinks some corpse water. That's kind of fun. Yeah.
That kind of reminded me of what's that part from Lord of the Rings? When
the swamp of dead men or whatever it is. Yeah.
But instead of drinking the water, he's like, I'll take your boots and your sword though. Yeah. Because I might need that. He meets a traveler on the road.
Yes.
Who was attacked by orcs. It turns out is actually
stabs him in the thigh. And then when he goes to kill, he's like, no, I'm sorry. Please don't.
By the way, that's a really good way to be unalive. Getting stabbed in the thigh.
Yeah.
That is a terribly dangerous place to be stabbed.
Yeah, and then she just pulls him out. I was like, no, you're not supposed to do that.
I like that. I like that detail of him knowing you're not supposed to pull it out because that's a medical fact. If you're stabbed, it doesn't matter where you're stabbed. You're not supposed to take it out because it's probably holding a blood vessel closed, right? And if you take it out, it's going to open up. Thankfully, she didn't get his femoral artery because he would have been dead in minutes. Yeah.
But they patch him up and they ride off and they run into some another dude who was attacked by orcs.
Yeah, they're like outlaws.
Yeah. Well, they're Adar's dudes.
Oh yeah. So she's also one of Adar's dudes, right?
Yeah, we don't know that yet though.
Yeah, but now we do.
Yeah. Because like at one point she like has the mark on the back of her neck and she like burns it off. Yeah. And so Adar's dudes like steal his horse again. He's like, that's fucked up. But the black elf shows up and he's like, hey, I'm a badass. I'm gonna kill all these guys.
But then I'm immediately leaving. Fuck you.
Shame about your horse. I gotta go take this wood in to burn it.
Yeah, because his
girlfriend.
Yeah,
his girlfriend
that
died.
was really sad.
And he like he's
I
trying
appreciate this Isildur's like devotion to his animal. Yeah. I totally get that. It'd be like I would kill a bunch of people for my horse if I had a horse.
Like Isildur's a bumbling idiot most of the time.
The horse kind of is too.
But he really genuinely loves that.
I like the horse like legitimately helps him out of that spider nest. Yeah.
He is like, if it's not for the horse, Isildur is dead.
I think the horse is smarter than Isildur.
Probably. I mean, it's Tolkien. Tolkien really liked certain animals.
Yeah, it's probably some special horse.
Yeah. So like the black elf's girlfriend's son, like is
Theo.
Theo, yeah. Theo doesn't like him, so he's like, dude, just stop trying to be cool with me. I don't like you. Fuck off.
Get out of your emo phase.
Yeah.
Sorry. So what? Your mom's dead.
Oh, by the way, Isildur, you want your horse back? Like, let's fucking go grab it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's the whole thing.
They get the horse back.
So Isildur gets the horse back.
It's that tense moment, by the way.
Yeah.
When he like walks up to the horse and he's like trying to
really quietly,
and then like the guys look over, but the horse moves his head so that, and he's like leaning up against his body.
Yeah.
And you see it from their angle, and you can see the horse has turned his head, and like you can kind of tell that something might be there, but the guy's like too far away.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this is kind of neat.
And Theo just fucking walks in the camp like, hey, You guys with Adar? Because I'm with Adar. Adar's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, Adar's my bro.
Yeah, we're homies.
Here's a mark on my arm that none of you will recognize. And they're like, "What is that?" And he's like, "I don't know. It's from a sword."
But they managed to get away with the horse. Meanwhile, in Numenor, the king's daughter is about to be coronated.
We got some politics.
Except there's some people who think that she shouldn't be coronated, and that her cousin, I think, should be the
dude with the beard,
Pharazôn.
Yes.
So they're like,
it's the Donald Trump of Numenor.
Yes,
probably.
And so there's this.
Except he doesn't seem like he's an idiot, actually. So he's not at all.
And the queen is having some trouble because she kind of started an unpopular war and got a bunch of people killed, and people.
And no one cares that she's blind.
Also, she's kind of using an elvish ball of visions.
Yeah.
To do things.
To see visions.
Yeah. So at her coronation.
In that secret room with that fucking cool, she gets that bracelet that turns into a key and shit. Yeah. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So at her coronation, this is one comes out, hey, you were fucking using this rock to see things. That's fucked up.
And she's like, I don't deny it. And they're like, oh.
Yes, that is mine. And I may have used it a couple times.
But it's okay. Because I'm the queen.
It's fine. But they're like, yeah, but we don't like elves. Like, did you forget that that's our defining character trait? We don't like elves.
Yeah, that's the one thing we don't like.
That's our one thing.
And then an eagle shows up.
Yeah, an eagle shows up and Pharazôn walks up to it like, please don't.
I can be king.
He's like, please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. And they're all like, the eagle likes Pharazôn. Hail Pharazôn.
I like how the eagle's like, I have no idea what you're saying.
I just landed here, bro. Like
I'm not gonna lie to you. It was in this moment I just realized that there was a birdseed down here, and I came down to get that. Okay, bye. Like flies up. And they're like, I'm going to be king.
Also, like, 12, 15 foot tall eagles are a terrible way to run your government.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost as bad as
a god running your government.
What's the line from Monty Python? Women in lakes throwing swords at people? Never mind.
You'll explain that during the Battlefront stream.
Okay, I will attempt to. But yeah, that's most of the stuff that happens.
Yeah, aren't the eagles like hyper intelligent though?
Yes, that's another Tolkien thing.
So do you think he landed on that thing and he was just like, these fucking idiots?
Well, the way he was like kind of rearing up and not really happy about Pharazôn, I thought
he was like, I'm here for the other chick. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I'm here for the actual ruler, but if you're gonna be a dick about it, I'm just gonna fly.
Politics is all, perception is real.
Yep.
And so if they can spin it as, oh, the eagle looked at me, so I'm the king now or whatever.
Never mind the fact that he was like flapping his wings and trying to bite me and and pooped on my lawn.
He's like, the queen's like, yeah, but he looked at me, and they're like, how do you know? You're fucking blind.
Yeah.
You don't know what happens.
Yeah.
They all looked at me, right? And everyone's like, yeah,
Pharazôn's cool.
I think that's about it.
That's the gist of it.
Yeah. We'll be back next week with the next episode. Or
maybe 3. Who knows?
Yeah.
How fast?
I don't know what the release schedule is. Yeah. I think next week we're going to also start up our Buzz recap series again and start with
the immediate aftermath of Jon Snow getting stabbed.
Yeah. I think it's Game of Thrones season 7.
I've lost track.
Which is, I think season 6 is when he dies. So season 7 would be, yeah. Or maybe it's, I can't remember.
Closing in on the end there.
Yeah. This is the part of the show Game of Thrones where like, there's so much cool shit that happens, but the fan reception starts to vary wildly right around this part of the show, right? And if you don't know what that is, Chris and I get a little sauced. And I get my map out of Westeros and Essos.
Drag portraits around.
Yeah, and I explain in detail the politics of it all and everything.
I'm just like, yes, shallow and pedantic.
Yes. And then you get to a part happens because I made you watch and you're like, I remember that. Yeah. So yeah, we'll do that next week, I think. Here in a couple minutes, we're going to reset and play some Star Wars Battlefront with our friends. So you should join us for that. That'll be a lot of fun. Real quick before we go, Rakesh says the Balrog. Disa is...
Disa, yeah. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. 3 for the elves, 7 now for the dwarves, coming soon, 9 more for the men.
9 for mortal men, doomed to die.
Yeah. Dun, 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 he wrote out phonetically. And then Boomhauer. Oh, yeah. Rings of Power rocks. Haters gonna hate. I agree. Yeah. Hobbit is for a much younger audience.
Also true.
The White Council. Thanks, y'all.
Okay.
This is why I should look at the chat while we're doing this because I go back and read it. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
What is that in reference?
And I know that's in response to something we said, but it's like, I don't remember that. That was 5 minutes ago. I don't remember anything from 5 minutes ago.
Probably 20 minutes ago at this point.
Anyway, we'll be back here in a few minutes. Come by, say hi to us. We'll chat about Rings of Power or whatever the fuck.
Or whatever, yeah.
We'll see you later. Bye. Go.
Bye.